So I have my breakpoints on line 84 and line 86. When you try to like click on this create to create a box, create a square, it will hit this line, but it will not hit this line. It will hit line 84, but not line 86, because line 86 will be executed only when there is a click event. We have not clicked on the square that was created dynamically yet. So we hit this line, but not this line, which is exactly how it's supposed to be. Now see, when I go and click on this guy, this square that was created, the event listener is waiting for that. I click on that, I got into line 86. It's going to set my background color to yellow. Okay, so I create. At the time of creation, event listener is all that is going to happen. Once I create, because my event is listening for a click event, when I click on it, then it will go to line 86. Okay, so just some fun exercise. So here is where we can use this keyword. Okay, so this is a very important concept to get your head wrapped around as to this keyword and what it means. So it's absolutely important that you try this out in different contexts and see if you have any questions about this. So this is the second concept I wanted to talk about. So we talked about how to associate an event with an element that is on the page. Second, we talked about how to associate an event with an element that is created dynamically and that does not have an ID, or it's hard for us to give it an ID because it's dynamically created. So that is where we use this keyword. Third, I want to show you using this particular I want to show you how we can do something that looks a little more real world example. So here what I have is I have a label here called input 1, or we can even say like name or something. So enter first name, enter last name. So if this is the label, then I have inputs to actually capture it. And then I have label here to capture any message about the input. So we have a label, input, and label. So any messages we are going to be putting here. So we have all seen websites that actually validate our code and throws errors that are, the input that we entered is not correct and all that. So that's called input validation, and that's what we are going to be using an example of in this situation. So again, so I have input here. So anytime the value of this input field changes, I want to call upon some function to take care of the validation. Okay, so the event I'm going to be attaching to these two inputs is going to be called the on. It's if you were to put it right away there, it's called on change. Otherwise, it's called change. So let's see. Do I have to do one for each input, or is there anything common? So do I have to write one for input 1 and input 2, or maybe I can use it for the class user input? In that situation, see, I could keep adding and I would still be okay. Input 3, input 4, input 5, message 3, 4, 5. So first name, last name, address, mother's name, I don't know, father's name. So I have input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what happens now is, instead of associating each and every input with one separate event, we are going to use one event for all inputs that have a class of user input. And we have done this before. It's a collection. So what we are going to do is var elements equal to document.get elements by class name, and the class name is user input. Now I got all my collections, all of my inputs are right here. So what LMs is just the name I'm giving for the collection. So anytime you have a collection is an array, so you need a loop, and array elements will be accessed like that. Be accessed by using a subscript. That is how we will be accessing. So let's write var I equal to 0, I less than. Remember that we want to use this element array's length. The reason why I am saying less than array length is because the first element starts at 0. So if you say element length is 10, there are 10 elements, you will start from 0 and go through 9. That's the reason why we do that. So I want to access each and every element like that, and then I want to add event listener. The event is going to be change event. Anytime something changes, I want to call a function called check for error. Yeah, let me use an anonymous function here. And here I can say inside the anonymous function, I can call a regular function, check for errors. And I want to send the element that I'm going to check the error for. I don't want to like check the error for all input fields. As I change the value of that field, I want to check this particular element's errors. So that would mean in this context, going back to the child example, I can use this keyword to do that. So I'm going to say function check for. So here is where we have an interesting concept. Oh, why am I not using the same name here? This is a keyword. It captures an element at a point in time. When it comes here, it is just going to be an element. You can call it's just an element. You don't use this again here because then it will change the context. The context here is different than the context here. You don't want to mess with that. So this is called as the actual value that is passed. This is just a placeholder. So we are sending this inside this element. So we can say element dot style dot if there is an error. I'm just going to like set this to see how it gets triggered. So I just want to first take it one step at a time, so we are not like doing too many things. So every time it comes into check for errors, it is going to make the background of that element that I changed, only that one, not every one. I'm associating a change event for all input fields that have a class name of user input. But only when the change happens on an element, I'm going to be calling this particular guy. So let's try this out. Okay, so I have all my fields here. Let's open our debugger. Before we do that, let's just move this guy all the way to the top. That way we can see better.